A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
While some people were speaking about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings, Jesus said, "All that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon another stone that will not be thrown down." Then they asked him, "Teacher, when will this happen? And what sign will there be when all these things are about to happen?" He answered, "See that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and the time has come. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for such things must happen first, but it will not immediately be the end." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be powerful earthquakes, famines, plagues, and from place to place. An awesome sight and mighty sight will come from the sky. Before all this happens, however, they will seize and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you a wisdom in speaking, that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
As we come toward the ends of the liturgical year, so the readings today invite us to take into consideration our future, particularly our ultimate destiny. The teachings of Jesus throughout the gospel generally tells us about the interconnectedness of this world and the world to come. The way we live here and now has a bearing on our life after. Our ultimate destiny, our future happiness is shaped by our present testimony and efforts. So the prophet Malachi described that the day of the Lord will come suddenly, blazing like an oven that set all the proud and all evildoers on fire. He also describes that the day of the Lord rises like the sun of justice with its healing rays on those who fear the Lord's name. And in the gospel, Jesus, the long-awaited Son of Justice, gives us far more details about the end times. So the contemplation on the end times reminds us of how we should live here and now. So when it comes to the end times, we can come up with some question like, when will this happen? What kind of sight will there be when all these things are about to happen? In the gospel, Jesus has never given us a direct answers to those questions because only God the Father knows when this day will come As we can hear in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark, no one knows about the day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. So his teaching emphasizes the unpredictability of the timing of the end times, and at the same time underscores the importance of being prepared at all times. So we might be wondering why Jesus does not have knowledge of when the end times will come if he is truly God. I myself think that Jesus' voluntary self-limitation to this kind of knowledge just because this is how he humbles himself and become obedient to his Father's plan. By so doing, he wants to present himself as a model for us so that we might imitate him by putting our trust and faith in God's perfect timing, by voluntarily submitting ourselves to God's perfect plan. Jesus encourages us to restrict our knowledge on the end times and constantly live in the state of vigilance and readiness for the fulfillment of God's promise. So he encourages us to regard each day of our life as the day of the Lord, the holy day for each of us. And in order to live out each day of our life as the day of the Lord, Jesus today gives us 3 advices. Firstly, Jesus admonishes us to see that we not be deceived by impostors. Jesus is warning us to be on guard lest our life be guided by fear, morbid curiosity, and thoughts of death. He wants us to stay alert so that we can learn how to interpret events in our life with the eyes of faith. The second thing that Jesus tells us is that there are such things as wars, insurrections, nation against nations, kingdom against kingdom, powerful earthquakes, famines, awesome size and mighty size from the skies, attacks on the church, hatred, persecution, etc. And we Catholic Christians are not daydreamers who build castles in the air about a better tomorrow. Whereas this world will pass away into the glory of God's kingdom, it is nonetheless entrusted to us so that we can show our care and concern for the planet and all of its inhabitants. All evil things that we see either on TV, on newspaper, or in our own life, as Jesus says, will lead to our giving testimony. To give testimony in the original Greek language that St. Luke used for his gospel is to become martyrs. In our martyrdom, either red, white, or green, in our giving testimony among our sufferings, Jesus says, he shall give us a wisdom in speaking that all our adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. Jesus promises to reward the perseverance of our faithfulness in the face of sufferings with the gift of his own wisdom. And the wisdom of the Lord helps us to realize that God only permits evil to occur to us so that he can withdraw from it greater goods for our sake. He allows us to endure our difficulties so that he can help us to persevere in faith and become better disciples of Jesus. And the last thing that Jesus tells us in today's gospel is about how to live the day of the Lord by our perseverance in faith. He said, by our perseverance in faith, we will secure our lives. We know that in Jesus' death and resurrection, he bears testimony to a promise and a sure hope about our ultimate destiny. As followers of Christ, we are called to fashion our life on the life of Christ, even in the midst of our sufferings. And the worst of all sufferings is, I think, is to be handed over to our adversaries by our own family members and friends. However, our union with Christ in the midst of our suffering, in the midst of our persecutions, gives us the assurance that Jesus will bless our fidelity by handing us over to the love of his own Father. So as we ponder the last thing, as well as try to make sense of and respond to the natural disasters, wars, pandemic, etc., Christ is calling us not to be led astray, but to follow him more fully. He wants us to cooperate with the Holy Spirit to give the testimony of the divine wisdom. He wants to strengthen us to persevere in living our faith with confidence in the midst of whatever chaos we may find in our life. So as we come toward the end of the liturgical year, the teaching of Jesus throughout the gospel generally tells us those kind of interconnectedness of this world and the world to come. The way we live here and now has a bearing on our life after. Our ultimate destiny, our future happiness is shaped by our present testimony and effort. The Lord comes to rule the earth with justice. Now stand erect and raise your heads, because your redemption is at hand.